Hello everyone, I am Arash. In the next few videos, I am going to talk about different control structures in programming. My main goal in these videos is making sure that you have fully comprehended the logic behind these structures so that you can use them in your programs effectively. The first control structure that we are going to talk about in this video is called if then else. A good way to understand the logic behind this structure is by going over its flowchart. Let's suppose that your program is being executed. Let's see how an if-then-else structure is going to be executed. Basically, Visual Studio is going to test a Boolean condition in this case. When you hear Boolean, you should know that it is either true or false. So it is either the condition is holding or not holding. Remember, it is either or, not both of them. So if the condition is holding, meaning that if it is true, in our case, X is going to be executed, and this is the if-then part. Again, we are asking Visual Studio that if the condition holds, do X. On the other hand, if the condition does not hold, meaning that if it is false, do Z. And that is the else part. I know it looks very simple, but let's make sure that we have fully comprehended this. I said the condition either holds or does not hold. So it is either true or false. If the condition is true, then the X part is going to be executed, and this means that if the condition is true, the Z part will be bypassed. On the other hand, if the condition is false, the X part is going to get bypassed and the Z part is going to get executed. Therefore, in an if-then-else structure, only one of the blocks is going to be executed. It is either or, not both of them. Let's put this into action. Suppose that we are asked to develop an application that converts a number into its word representation. This is a simple user interface of the application. The user is going to enter a number, press a button, and the application is going to return the word representation of the number. Again, remember the system definition. The input is the number. The application is going to process the number with the code that we are going to write and returns the output to the user. So let's quickly create a project under the name of Numbers to Words Converter, design the user interface, and please remember to keep this project as we are going to use it in the next few videos. Now we need to write the code for the event that is going to be triggered in case the user presses this button. In that case, let's just start from 1. What if the user has entered the number 1? If the user has entered the number 1, then we are going to return the word 1 to the user, and we are done. However, if the user has entered anything but 1, which is this block, we are going to return something like sorry, there is not a word representation of this number in our database yet. So let's do that. So here I go to the Events tab, double click here, and I'm going to say that if the user has entered 1 in the text box, so if this is true, I am going to return the word representation 1 to the user. So label 2.text is going to be equal 1. Else, meaning that the user has entered anything but 1, we are going to return a text like there is not a word representation of this number in our database yet. I have copied that text. I paste that text here and let's run the program. So if I enter 1 in the text box and press the button, I'm going to receive 1. If I enter any number but 1, I'm going to receive the text there is not a word representation for this number in our database yet. So far, our application has been covering only one number, which is 1. However, ask yourself, what if we want this application to cover more numbers? Let's say, what if we want this application to cover number 2 as well? So we just need to change the flowchart to something like this. Again, we are going to test the input. If the input is equal to 1, we are going to return the word 1 to the user. If the input is not equal to 1, we are going to test the input again. If the input is equal to 2, we are going to return the word 2 to the user. However, if the input is not equal to 2 either, we are going to return the text, sorry, there is not a word representation of this number in our database yet. So let's take care of this in our application. Go to your code, and here, if text box 1 text is equal to 1, we are going to return 1. However, if this is not true, we are going to add something like else. If, again, text box 1.text is equal to 2, then I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to change this to 2. Let's run our application. So here I'm going to type 1. I'm going to press this. I receive 1. Change this to 2. Press this. You receive 2. Change this number to anything but 1 and 2. You will receive. There is not a word representation of this number in our database yet. Now, before we say goodbye, I want you to debug this application to see how it actually runs. So on this bar, put a checkpoint, press F5. Now here, enter 1, press convert. You see that Visual Studio has been waiting for us to give it the go-ahead. So if I press F11, you can see that if you hover your pointer on text box 1.text, you see that the value that the text box is holding is 1. So this condition is true. So we are sure that since this condition is true, this block is going to get executed. So if I press F11, we will be here and this line is going to get executed. F11 again. So this line has got executed. And remember, since this has been true, all the other blocks are going to get bypassed, meaning that we are not going to go over these blocks since this has been true already. So if I press F11, I expect this to get to this point. As you see, we were right. So if I press F5, you see that we have received 1. Let's change this to 2. Press convert. Again, we are here. Press F11. You see that this block has not got executed because this condition hasn't been true. However, if you hover your pointer on text box 1.text, you see that it is holding 2 and this condition is true. So this block is going to get executed and this block is going to get bypassed. Now, remember that there are simpler ways to develop this application. However, I want you to try to expand on this application using the same if then else to see if you can cover more numbers with this application. Please remember to save this application as we are going to expand on it in the future videos.